Hello again, my name is Jasmine and I'm a health educator with Maine General Medical Center's Community Health Department and the Peter Alfond Prevention and Healthy Living Center. Welcome to the third week of the Tiny Goals Big Change series, where together we're taking tiny steps toward the biggest health goals over a duration of 4 weeks. If you're new to this series, I'd recommend that you start back with video 1, and I'll look forward to having you back here when it's time. In last week's video, you reflected on how your tiny steps are going, and I shared some tips for how to respond well when your steps don't go according to plan, as well as some ideas for navigating both anticipated and unanticipated challenges. I also provided some time for identifying your why and talked about the importance of this. Today I'm going to talk about the positive ripple effect that tiny steps have on other aspects of our lives, as well as the importance of celebrating successes. First, I want to check in regarding how your tiny step went last week. Similar to our last video, I invite you to take out a pen and paper and pause the video so you can have some time to write down your responses. How did your tiny step go? What went well? What factors led to the success that you felt? Did any challenges arise? What did you learn? As we discussed in our last session, if you don't feel successful about how things went over the past week, this is actually a great opportunity for learning and adjusting for the future. As you continue your journey, you'll learn more about yourself and the approaches that are most effective. And by remembering to keep your tiny step truly tiny, the effect of any challenges that arise will be minimized. For example, if you're feeling quite tired and unmotivated, you'll likely still be able to accomplish something tiny. I find this to be true in my own life. No matter how full my life gets, I'm still able to take my tiny step, for example, drinking some water before I pour my morning tea. And this step is especially beneficial on my extra busy days. This is why I really emphasize the importance of tiny steps. It's something you can do with high probability and that will spark a feeling of success. And by being successful with your tiny step, you'll feel more confident and capable as you continue on your path. An additional reason why I emphasize tiny steps is that they typically have a positive ripple effect onto many areas of our life. I spoke briefly about this positive ripple effect in our first video, but let's explore that concept in more depth now. When considering the habits in our lives, we may notice that they tend to follow a pattern of action to outcome to action to outcome, and so on. Here's an example of this pattern. Anna is a busy mother who struggles to get enough sleep and also experiences significant stress and anxiety. She decides to add the tiny step of taking 3 deep breaths after she gets into bed at night, and this is the action. She finds that she sleeps more restfully, which is an outcome, and due to this outcome, she feels more energized the next day. With this energy, she decides to go for an afternoon walk alongside her family, another action, and this walk leads to Anna experiencing decreased stress, another outcome. Here we can see how the one tiny step of taking 3 deep breaths had a far-reaching effect for Anna, from her physical activity to her emotional health, and likely her family benefit as well, since she included them in her walk. However, this ripple effect extends even further. That evening, Anna finds that her more peaceful state continues, and she ultimately sleeps very well again. This leads to another day of feeling well rested, so the ripple effect actually becomes a cycle where her tiny step is integrated into a larger system of healthy habits, and this amazingly all began with just 3 deep breaths before bed. It's exciting when we experience breakthroughs like this. However, even more subtle victories are significant and worthy of celebration. Celebration is not only something we deserve, but it's also been found to come with proven benefits, such as reinforcing or affirming our feeling of success, gaining perspective on our progress, increasing our confidence, and enhancing our motivation. The benefits of celebrating our small wins transcend beyond the intellectual realm. Celebration also provides physiological benefits, such as the release of chemicals that are proven to reduce stress, elevate focus, and increase feelings of well-being and joy. It may seem like a silly step, but celebration is actually very important for progress toward larger goals. Your celebration doesn't have to be huge or costly. Something as simple as saying, "well done" to yourself, giving yourself a thumbs up, Sharing your victory with a supportive friend or keeping a journal of success can be enough to affirm your accomplishment within your body and mind. Regardless, when celebrating, make sure you're really taking the time to experience what success feels like. It can be easy to get caught up in the busyness of life and forget to pause to create rest stops that allow you to enjoy the view of your efforts. Celebrations can serve as natural rest stops on your journey. You may choose to celebrate after every tiny step you take or after your week of tiny steps, but either way, I encourage you to remember to acknowledge your progress. During the coming week, take some time to reflect on how and when you plan to celebrate, and consider celebrating after you take your next tiny step. Speaking of your next tiny step, what tiny step would you like to take throughout the next week? Would you like to continue with the same step or try something new? And what habit would you like to pair your tiny step with? Remember, a formula you can follow is after or while current habit, I will new habit. As you continue your journey, please remember that you're not alone. Although this is a pre-recorded series, we have a variety of live program offerings for you if you're interested in additional support, encouragement, information, or accountability. You can reach the Peter Alfond Prevention and Healthy Living Center at 207-872-4102. In next week's video, I'll be talking about the importance of mindset, sharing some ideas for how to adjust our mindset, and then providing a guided meditation as we conclude the series and look ahead to our future steps. Thank you for continuing to take tiny steps with me, and I hope you have a great week.